Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, Darkest Timeline. Not a super bumper edition this week. Just keeping things moving, keep things in motion. It's December. It's a lean time for podcasting in some ways. Couple of things from the week. Nothing major. There is some trigger warning-esque things, but that's if you need that sort of stuff, that's there. And then we're straight into the movies and the computer games. Not a huge amount, but there's still something there. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share the podcast around. That's the one. That's the one we like. Share that podcast around. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline. Hello. How are you doing? About an hour and a half ago, I had a conversation that went like this. Or maybe you should start the podcast early, get a jump on it. Start it nice and early, plenty of game time later on, And here we are, the usual podcast time. I've come to realise that I spend a lot of time complaining. Obviously, we can leave that sentence there, but I won't. Spent a lot of time complaining about having no time, and the realization I've had recently is that it's all my own doing, because at the point in time that I do have time, I just piss it away, just piss it up a wall. Time just evaporates because I allow it to. I had a realisation today that I've been putting disclaimers on podcasts recently. And this podcast should, in theory, have a disclaimer on it because there's a lot to go through. But then today I was like, do I need to put a disclaimer on it? Do I need to say, oh, if you're triggered by this, then you might not like this? Who knows? But ultimately, there should probably be a disclaimer, is the short version. Just changing a plug. There's apparently a large section of my life. Not a huge amount of stuff to go through this week. It's that time of the year. And everything winds down towards the back end of the year. It's obviously super busy in certain ways, which I think makes other things a lot quieter. So, not a huge amount to go through, but more in other areas. So, let's get into it. I think we need a shift in office culture. There's a lot, and I mean a lot, of sickness going around at the moment. It's always at times like this that I always say to people, I feel like Neo in the Matrix, dodging bullets or germs. Winter's obviously a terrible time of year. I used to have a thing. I'd get a summer cold and a winter cold or flu or whatever. There are times in my life when that has been worse. There are times in my life where that's been better. Obviously, once children come into the picture, then you're just doomed from that point on. Children go to places where germs are essentially cultivated, and then they get the best selection of those germs and bring them home to you. So once that kicks in, you're basically doomed from that point on. But conversation I was having today about how, it wasn't that long ago that people had to go in the office every day. And I was saying, yes, how things have changed. Obviously, that is not the case anymore. And for better or worse, it's up to you to decide how you feel about that. I have a personal opinion about that subject. So there you go. So, a lot of people sick. Lots and lots of people sick. There's some sort of horrific, ravenous flu going round. And I know multiple people who've had it. So, paint the picture. You've got the flu. You're chock to the eyeballs full of flu-like germs. You say to multiple people, don't come near me. I'm full of germs. Oh, that sounds awful. Yes, stay away from me. I don't need to get ill, especially at this time of year. And all the other sort of things that you say. I am very unwell. I do not feel good. Okay. So, home to bed for you then, yes? No, obviously I'm heading straight to the office. Why? Surely, as a minimum, if you don't feel well, work from home. Then the only people that you are, or people you are getting sick, is either the person who's already ill, or the next in line of person who, let's face it, is probably going to get ill. You've minimised your effective radius of germs/illness/sickness. What is the purpose behind, no, I have to take my germs to the building where all the people are so they can also get the germs? So this flu sickness thing has sort of ravaged through the office, and it all started, allegedly, I don't know this for a fact, it all started because somebody came into the office who was unwell. Now, years ago, and I do mean years ago, you're probably looking 10 years ago, I had a issue, shall we say, a to-do between myself, my manager, and somebody on my team, because that person had come to work unwell. They came into the office, they were unwell, they were sick. Within, I'm pretty sure, 24 hours of that, I was ill. And I was ill like that kind of, the sickness that you remember. The ones where you look back and go, oh, I remember that time that, woof, man, that was a doozy. So when I'd sort of recovered and come back into the office, I sort of took the person and my then manager somewhat to task. And I was like, I don't feel that this is okay. Somebody has basically knowingly, willingly brought germs into the office. That person should have stayed at home. They were unwell. And their take on it, the manager's take on it, yeah, well, there's not much you can do about it. And I was like, no, there is exactly something you can do about it. That thing is, stay at home. You're unwell. So this goes back many years. I'm pretty sure, I was thinking about this today, I was like, I imagine that if you go back through 5-6 years worth of podcasts, there's probably a podcast or two in there of me going, why do people come into the office when they're sick? But because of this, a multitude of conversations have broken out around this subject. So I've had somebody in the office in the last week or so who was super sick. They looked like death warmed up. So why were they in the office? Left halfway, 2/3 of the way through the day, went home, went to bed. Okay, let's cut out the middleman in that process and just don't come into the office. So I was, again, having this conversation with someone and they were like, yes, but it's the culture. Okay, so the culture needs to change because it's wrong. I had a conversation with somebody today where I was like, how was your weekend? Like, oh, I'm ill. All right, you as well. They're like, yeah, which is why I didn't come into the office and I'm working from home right now. And I was like, as you absolutely should be, because you're not well, so you shouldn't be in the office. So, I was sat next to somebody today. May or may not be patient zero. I can't confirm or deny those rumours. And I was like, oh, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Oh, yeah, I'm better than I was. Better than I was is not well. But we'll let it slide. They went into a meeting at one point where they had to do X amount more talking than they had been doing up to that point and proceeded to cough. Every 2 seconds for an hour. And the kind of cough that could wake the dead. Every 2 seconds for an hour. They couldn't speak at various points. They were choking at other points because of the coughing and the speaking and the... This was... I don't know. X number of inches away from me. The whole time I'm like, you are too sick to be in the office. You are clearly unwell. You should be at home in bed. You are also presumably blasting germs everywhere through coughing and obviously quite disruptive in the process. In the end, I had to put my earphones in and was just like, this is unbelievable. I had another conversation with another person who had gone home sick. This is a different person who had gone home sick after doing 5 hours in the office, sat next to me, went home sick, has not returned to the office since. That was middle of last week. Okay, you're quite unwell. You're saying you've got the flu. Apparently this flu is ravenous. Do you remember that bit where you came in the office for 5 hours and made sure to really spread those germs around? So here's the solution. I've come up with a solution, and it's gonna work. I'm gonna eradicate sickness in one go. I think people's bonuses should be penalised if you go in the office while you're sick. Who's with me? Hands up. Answer on a postcard. I personally think, and this is my reason, I personally think that going in sick is a detriment to the business. Let alone, I'm trying to avoid... I'm trying to avoid a particular... No, I can't. I was about to go, let's look at it this way, but no, I can't. If you knowingly make another person sick, then there should be some sort of ramification. We live in a culture now where you can work from home, and I understand, the way we work is that you have to do X amount of time in the office, and I know businesses went to that model. But I would argue that there are grounds to be able to say, hey, boss, manager, I haven't had any time off sick this year. I am very unwell right now. I am not going to go into the office so that I don't infect anybody else. Can it go down on my record that I've still contributed to my office attendance for the year? And that manager should say, yes, as it's the first instance of sickness and it's November, we'll sort it, don't you worry. I'm just trying to think about the business. So, ended the most recent fast. I think it was a week ago. I think I ended on the Monday. I think last week's podcast I was talking about having just ended the fast. And it was great and it was wonderful. It was a fantastic time. No real surprises. I put weight back on. It was like 0.2 of a pound day one. And then basically it just went from there. It's a very long story that I don't particularly want to get too far into for another reason, which I'm going to get to in a minute. Something that was interesting and super not fun. Last Wednesday, I think it was, lying in bed, middle of the night, and all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, why am I awake? It's the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning. What's going on here? What has woken me? Is it child? Is it animal? Is it, animal, vegetable, mineral sort of situation? I can't hear anything. Wait, no, I can hear something. What's that noise? Oh, that's my stomach. Yes, I was a little poorly. I had to get up, had to go bathroom. Was up for a while. Went back to bed. Did that whole, I'm in bed, eyes closed, not really sleeping for the next 2 hours. Got up, think I was toilet again, bathroom again kind of situation. And then took myself off climbing. Yeah, honestly, felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach by a horse. And I know what you're thinking. And the answer is yes, I went into the office. Yeah, hypocritical, I know. Wasn't that kind of situation. It was definitely a change in diet more than a sickness thing. All I could think at the time was, oh well, hopefully this will help my weight. But it didn't. Recently, I've started thinking that I might just be better off just not eating ever again. Don't worry, I'm not serious on that one. That's I'm being flippant. Project Lose a Stone in December is well and truly underway, to the point that I lost a stone and went, cool. But I did it the first week of December and then promptly put 4 pounds back on over the course of a week. So I was like, it could have been worse. I think that would be the takeaway there. There wasn't a takeaway. I mean, the takeaway lesson from it. It could have been worse. Could have been better, but I'm not sure how, because ultimately when you go from no food to food, you're going to put weight on. I had a noticeable change with like running and working out. It's just that thing, innit? If you're eating, then you've got energy. And I know I was talking about caveman energy, but caveman energy is like short-lived. So obviously food energy is more of a long-term solution. However, having put weight back on and being at this point 9 days away, I have made the decision to fast again. Honestly, I'm not going to lie, there is a part of me that's like, how far can you go? How far could you push it? Obviously, when I did the big 13-day one, the weight loss stopped by the end of it. I just couldn't get any more out of it. But the big thing through it all was how little I was hungry, whereas certainly last week there was days of being hungry. So yes, the idea at this point in time is to drop more of a stone, so get back off what I've put back on in a week, and then go even further past that. Then just need to sort of get up to Christmas Day, where obviously you consume the most calories of any day of the year, in theory. And then it's going to be trying to like maintain between there and New Year's. And then make a decision past that point. I would like to start the year a stone lower than where I am now, which would put me into a whole other category of never been here. Certainly not in the last 10 years. So, there's that side of it. And then really have to start thinking about what to do at that point. So yeah, obviously I know, like I always talk about, stuff like this can be difficult for people. I imagine there are a couple of people out there screaming at their device about how this is the worst possible thing. But as I've said before, you kind of have to do what works for you. And I ended up in a bit of a rut, a loop. It's very demoralising when you put a lot in and don't get all that much out. So something had to change. And obviously, yes, it is a drastic change, but it is a change. That is actually all I've got for the week. It's been a very hectic situation of gift buying and things like that. I've had a couple of things, like school-related things. One was Christmas fair, and one was a carol service. For the fact that I know exactly my opinion on both, they are probably subjects to steer clear of. I know last year's carol service brought with it some amusement, but I will leave that for this outing. So we're straight in to TV, movies, and games. So, straight away, no TV. No, I know what you're thinking. When was the last time you talked about any TV? And the answer is a while ago. And the reason is because the stuff I was watching just wasn't doing it for me, and it's difficult to put something on when you're really not getting on with it. I've recently looked at a couple of things about maybe purchasing a couple of series. I'd really like to see the second series of Tulsa King, but it's this whole, subscribe to Paramount Plus. I'm like, I don't want to subscribe, I just want to buy it. And it's like, you can buy it, but it's new, so it's expensive. I was like, yeah, okay. And then I watched a trailer for a TV series that I've seen a little bit of before. But it falls into that category of, and I hate to say it, but it falls into the category of, I'm not sure I'm willing to pay for it. So, movie-wise, though, what might be interesting is I've watched 2 films this week. I'm about to finish a 3rd film, but it's not new. I imagine I've talked about it before. So it doesn't matter whether I finish it or not in the next week. I probably won't talk about it. So let's talk about films that I haven't seen. And the first one might be a little bit of a surprise because of a TV series that I watched recently and reviewed. I watched the film Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I know what you're going to say. Hang on a minute, didn't you say that you'd not seen that? Because that's quite an old film at this point. I have not seen that film until recently. The reason for that is that there was some controversy when that film was released, and I'll leave it at that. Don't really want to get into the ins and outs of Hollywood. Ins and outs. Hey. So, I never saw it originally, and I think I convinced myself that it probably wasn't worth seeing eventually. And that was kind of that. Having watched the TV series, there was that, I wonder what the movie was like, kind of mentality. And it's a film that every now and then, like, you'll see a clip of it. And then, in a perfect storm kind of situation, it popped up on a well-known streaming service. So I was like, yeah, I might give this a whirl. Put it on, watched it over a few sittings, and yeah, it was alright. I think I wish I'd have seen it before the TV series, because obviously the TV series is an updated version of the film done over a series of episodes rather than done as a movie. Shocker. There is the aspect of it's probably a little bit more dated now. I can say this much. Angelina Jolie cannot act driving in that film. It's hands down noticeably the worst acting driving I think I might have seen. There is no possible way you would believe that she was driving. It was fine. I enjoyed it. I'm trying to find a way to say something without offending. And again, I don't. There are things in this world that are believable, even if it's fanciful. There are things in this world that you look at and go, I can believe that. Because if you've ever seen a Fast and the Furious movie, you go, yeah, that's believable. When there's that part of you that goes, no, it isn't. It's that. So there is an aspect of this movie where you go, that's believable. It was fun. It was funny. It was enjoyable. A little bit less believable in places than others. And I felt it was a film that didn't want me to fully enjoy it. Fully. I felt at points where I was like, yeah, this is good, I'm enjoying this. And then it'd be like, that's a shame. I don't know if it was a product of its time. I think it potentially will have done reasonably well. I imagine. I'm tempted to look it up. Let me look it up. Come on. Let's look it up. So, Mr. and Mrs. Smith movie. Budget versus gross. Oh, okay. I thought we were in for a bad time for a second, but it's not as bad as I thought. 2005, so it's just coming up to being 20 years old. Yes. Yep. Think about that one. Budget $110 million. I would probably ask where a good few million of that went, but hey, grossed $487 million. $487,287,646 worldwide. Domestically, 186, international 300. Movie was a box office success, ladies and gents. So there you go. Made 4 times its budget. There's been a lot. I've been having a lot of conversations recently about movies versus budget. A particular superhero-y villain film came out in the last week or so and has done some of the worst business I think I've ever seen. I think they need a new word because flop doesn't cover losing $100 million on something. Anyway, I enjoyed Mr. and Mrs. Smith. There is a part of me that thinks I would probably watch it again. There's a part of me that thinks that I probably never need to watch it again. I think it feels very much a Saturday night / this might sound strange, but I would call it a date night movie. You and your lady, or you and your man, or you and your partner, or you and your significant other. Saturday night, the takeaway's on its way. You've poured the glass of whatever, and you think, we need a movie. That film ticking all the boxes. So that's what I'd say to that. Now then, time for something a little bit different. And I don't know if you ever thought you'd hear me say this. I have watched another film this week, and it was a Christmas movie. Christmas movie I haven't seen. Unfortunately for me, I don't live in a house of people who spend their entire time saying the phrase "bar humbug," and that shines in many different ways. Some of those different ways are Christmas movies. Now, traditionally, Die Hard 2, Scrooged, and other things like that. Bad Santa 2, Violent Night, and so on. These are films that have frequented in our house a lot of. We watched Die Hard for the last 10 years. Shall we watch Die Hard 2? Kind of thing. Or we watched Die Hard 1 and 2 last year. Shall we watch Bad Santa? It's that. All the way up to the point that we stumbled on, or I stumbled on, The Night Before, which I think I would argue is possibly the best Christmas film. And yeah, you can come for me. I'm here waiting. You bring your freaking, the Santa Claus. It's a Wonderful Life. Any other Christmas movie, you bring it to me and I'll slam The Night Before down in front of you and say, Yahtzee, bitch. Anyway, I'm getting away from the point. So, we ended up in a situation where we had a bit of time and there was a food situation, and the conversation turned to, we should watch a movie. And I was like, okay, fine. We should watch a Christmas movie. And I'm like, I end up on a streaming service and I'm scrolling through and I was like, I remember this film came out a couple of years ago. I remember at the time the trailer looked okay. And I thought, yeah. And I'm there, Leanne's there. We're both like, actually, that doesn't sound too bad. Looked at the cast. The cast was a bit of a juggernaut. And I'm like, what do you think to this? She was like, I'll watch it. I popped it on before I could change my mind, and away we went. So me and Leanne watched El Camino Christmas, which is that particular streaming service's movie. That it was done for that streaming service. There was a situation beforehand. I've got to get this out. I've got to say that hands down one of the funniest situations while I was watching this movie was me saying that Tim Allen being in this film, having done other Christmas movies, was a little on the nose. I then went on to say, Leanne said something about like, how can they justify this? And I was like, what they'll do is they'll throw in a joke that relates to that movie, to a movie that this person has done previously, and that's how they'll get around it. And they'll make it all light and funny. In actual fact, they did not do that with Tim Allen. Hey ho, what can you do? They absolutely did do it with a different actor, though. The guy that plays, I think it's Clarence in RoboCop. He's one of the bad guys in RoboCop. Was in El Camino Christmas, and they used a RoboCop joke partway through the film. I was like, I told you they were going to do it. So El Camino Christmas, a guy goes to a small town in search of his dad, and it's got small town mentality, small town cops who are allegedly alcoholic and quite bent, for want of a better way of putting it. There's mentioned early on about police corruption. Not really mentioned as to sort of really why. However, this guy gets caught up in this whole situation where essentially the police, or a police officer, is hounding / harassing, and it ends up in this whole situation where he ends up getting arrested, wrongfully arrested. There's then some police brutality, and later down the line, not to spoil any of this, but let's face it, this is all in the trailer, there ends up being a hostage situation. So, couple of things. One, yep, I get it, not overly Christmassy, but it's set at Christmas. I think that was kind of how they got round it. IMDb. Go into IMDb and search for El Camino Christmas. Right. I'm going to read the cast list of this movie, which you can obviously look at for yourself, but hey. So, Dax Shepard. Kurtwood Smith was the guy that played Clarence. Luke Grimes, although when his name popped up, I was like, yeah, but I can't say what you've been in, so don't know. Emilio Rivera from Sons of Anarchy fame. Vincent D'Onofrio from, where do you want to start? Jessica Alba, Tim Allen, Jimmy O Yang, who is one of those people that I'm like, I know you're probably more famous than I am aware. So, bit of a juggernaut of a cast, in my opinion. And away we went. And again, one of those really enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. It was a Christmas movie in spirit, I think, because honestly, at this point in time, I'm struggling to tell you what was Christmas about it. The bulk of it is the hostage situation. Everything that runs up to that is just leading to this hostage situation. And as I'm sure, you can probably pick up by now, the hostage situation is a whole misunderstanding, which features quite an amusing little bit where there's a lot of shooting, but the people doing the shooting are the police, and they're just shooting at each other. That's quite sort of entertaining. There's a lot of bad police work and so on and so forth. A few things I'll say. One, not super happy with part of the ending. There was a part of the ending that I was really happy about. There was a part of the ending that I was not happy about. And a very strange moral to the story, which was a civilian, an innocent, to a degree, civilian, sacrifices himself to cover up police corruption. If that's not a message for speaks volumes, some might say, that was the bit that really didn't sit well with me. And I was like, also, if that person's dead, I'm gonna riot. So yeah, a film that ends and you go, I don't know how that sits with me. I don't know how I feel about this. And they did a whole this guy had a happy ending and this guy had a happy ending and this went this way and that went that way. And everything worked out right in the end. And I'm like, I don't think it did. A couple of things happened earlier in it where I was like, why have you just done that? Because that makes no sense. But obviously, these are the things that further the story. So, definitely enjoyable. Definitely worth a watch. If you're looking for a Christmas movie that isn't really a Christmas movie, you couldn't go far wrong with that. Couple of elements where you're like, oh, I wonder how this is going to resolve itself, when you know exactly how it's going to resolve itself. That sort of stuff. It was fun. It was harmless. And yeah, as far as Christmas movies go, it was fine. It was good. So let's start talking computer games. Let's do the VR first. Something happened in the last week and I lost my tiny little mind. This to me feels like the longest time in coming and should have been almost the first thing that happened. I saw an announcement through Metallica's Twitter/X page saying that Beat Saber had just released the Metallica pack. And I'm like, well, it's about fucking time. My word. Also, what was super nice was that it wasn't one of these, here's 5 songs by this band. No. 16 Metallica songs. Now, obviously, in a situation where you've got 16 songs, not all of those are going to be absolute bangers, but the majority are. I think it was also £16. If you buy the songs individually, it was like £2 a pop. So, clearly saving money there. And I bought it immediately and then sent multiple messages to people like, it's finally fucking happened. It's great. I haven't played Beat Saber for quite a while, so I had to do like a getting back into it kind of thing, not going on normal or hard straight off the bat, doing a couple of easy ones, getting in the swing of things, and then away we go. Some of the stuff that I'd kind of forgotten until I went back on is like they've made changes to some of the blocks, and they've also done this thing where you have to hold one of the sabres in a particular position whilst waiting for like the next block, which is actually quite a cool feature. Makes you sort of do funky shapes and stuff. The colour scheme, it's black on black basically. It's gorgeous. Once you get so far into songs, you get things like fire or lightning or sort of more colour injected into the levels. I'm sure you can guess where the fire and the lightning come in. Just absolute chef's kiss. My biggest complaint is I don't physically have the enough time to play. I've been sort of fitting it in. Also, it is a bit of a workout when you're not used to playing Beat Saber as much. So there have been points where I've basically gone, I'm going to have to stop playing because my arms hurt, and I was climbing this morning, I'm climbing tomorrow morning, I've done a workout, etc., etc. But yeah, absolute chef's kiss. It's a masterpiece. So we'll definitely be going back to that. Picked up a cheap VR PC VR game. Cheap because believe early access. I was reading some stuff about it. They were saying that there is an actual story, roguelite, whatever you want to call it, on its way, but not yet. The game is called Hard Bullet. And outside of some booting up issues, you have to select a particular... I have to do it through Meta Link rather than Steam Link. And it doesn't always load, which can be annoying. One thing that is super annoying, I can't find the way to get to the menu. When I'm in the game, I can't get to the menu. I've no idea what button combination it is. What makes it worse is, at one point in time I was playing, and the menu just came up, and I was like, how did you appear? And it had exactly what I wanted in it, which was mostly return to main menu. Can't get it to come back. I've looked on the list of controls. It's not listed. It's really weird. Hard Bullet is very much in the vein of things like Boneworks / Bone Lab Arena. So you go into a place, it's usually like one's like a street that would be in something like, I don't know, like Chinatown or something. One's the stairway, the sort of I don't know what you call it, like a lobby stairway thing, which is basically from the Matrix. Is it the second Matrix? You've got roof of a skyscraper. a pool area, a workshop, garage area, loads of different sorts of areas. And basically, you walk in with as many weapons as you can carry once you've unlocked them and bought them. And wave after wave of enemies come in, and it's just an exercise in shooting, pointy weapons, blunt weapons, and everything you could possibly imagine to do with all of those things. Shotgun to the lower half of the body is always amusing, let's put it that way. I have spent probably a little too much time playing it recently. I said to Leanne the other day, I was like, I do wonder if at the other end of games like this, somebody's watching you play to assess how much of a psycho you are. Because, yeah, you know, here's a fire axe, go crazy. Okay, but that guy's got a gun. But then you best chop his arms off, haven't you? You know, that kind of thing. That's just an extreme example. I'm not justifying chopping people's arms off. Doesn't mean it's not fun. A super cool game. A lot of fun. Very much in that vein of if you've had a stressful day, well, let me tell you something that really relieves the stress. There was a point in time where Leanne was doing some Christmas stuff and I was playing the game, and she is like, yeah, that looks like fun for you. So yeah, looking forward to when they finally release I say finally, I've owned it about a week. When they release a story mode, get to see what that's like, but it's mostly just like arena stuff and waves of enemies, which I previously spent a lot of time in the Bone Lab / Boneworks arenas. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it was cheap. So I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 flat games, as I have to refer to them. Atlas Fallen, whatever, Reign of Sand, I think it's full title. Still playing, still enjoying. Got in a situation last night where there was like a super boss. It was like a boss that was guarding an area. And ended up dying several times and was like, oh, is this the point in time where I can't get past this bit of this game? Does have that feel to it, that feel of at some point I'm just going to hit a brick wall. But changed tactics, tried a few different things, managed to fluke my way through and kill the boss. Couldn't tell you how I did it. Just sort of sped things up. Did feel like I was getting to the end. Essentially, you have these 4 pieces for the gauntlet that you have, and I'd found, built, and restored all 4 pieces. So I was like, well, if there are 4 bits to find, and I've found all 4, that's probably about the end of the game, I would say. Yeah. Then I went to a new area, and it was like, hey, there's a glove part to the gauntlet that you need to collect. I was like, right, okay. Couple of things that have become increasingly more annoying about the game is the map and waypoint system is super useless and super annoying. I went to an area last night and it was like, there are 2 pieces to collect here, get them both while you're here. I was like, cool. Found one, no problem. The other one, no clue. I was like, oh, well, previous pieces have had multiples, so I'll just leave this area and go and find a couple of others. Job done. I left the area and there was 1 other piece to collect. I was like, of course. So probably going to have to look into that a little bit more. It was at the point in time that I was due to turn it off, so, probably a bit tired, etc., etc. I have played a trial for a game I've asked for Christmas. That part of the story is significant because I played the trial and went, oh, nobody told me it was like this. One of those games that's been out a while at this point, but it's maintained its price, which I viewed was a good sign. Having played the trial of the game, I was like, oh, you're a Dark Souls. You're a Souls-like game, but you're like a diet version, which in a lot of ways is probably better for me. But I'll give you an example. I'd done the first part of the sort of the story, I guess, and then you're back at your base, but your base is under attack. So you basically wake up and get straight into the action. I go running out. Did I say it was Rise of Ronin? I don't think I did. The game's Rise of Ronin. So I get up, I go running out. There's these 3 like ninjas, and they start fighting me and kill me instantly. And I went, oh, for fuck's sake. I load the game, start again, have another go. Same result. I go, I've asked for this for Christmas, and spoilers, let's just say I know that I'm getting it. I may have ordered it for myself. Oh, this is not good. Start again. Then managed to get past it like it was nothing. I'm like, okay. It's another one of those games where it feels like you need to press 4 buttons to do what 1 button would. And I'm like, are you just adding in these things to make the game seem more difficult than A, it is, and B, it needs to be? So there's a lot of that. And I don't like a lot of that. And I managed to progress through this trial. I wouldn't say fine, but I have progressed through the trial. But I think I'd maybe have liked to play the trial before buying the game. Let's say that. It's had good reviews. So I'm working on the principle it has to be a good game. But I'm now wondering if it was reviewed by people who spend their time playing Dark Souls, Elden Ring, etc. The one Souls-like game that I would really have liked to have played was Black Myth. But it's a Souls-like game, so no use to me. I think I'll just have to see on that one. It could be one of those situations where I play it more and get more into it, or it could be one of those situations where it has to go in the trading pile. Final game of the week. Although I picked up a couple of cheap Steam games. I really fancied a driving game because I'd got a driving game recently on the Steam Deck, and it was great and I was really enjoying it, and then it wouldn't go past a certain part of the loading process, and that was the end of that. And since then I think I've sort of got a bit of the driving game itch, so I picked up a couple. One I need to go back to. The other was very enjoyable, so I'll probably go back to that, but I'll probably talk about it when I go back to it, I think. Somebody convinced me to buy Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster. I say convinced me. I've toyed with the idea for a while because sometimes a remaster is a good thing. I remember playing Assassin's Creed 3. I remember enjoying Assassin's Creed 3. And I also remember being wildly frustrated by it as a game. I felt Assassin's Creed 3 in certain areas was a step backwards. We'd come off the back of, I want to say, Brotherhood? No. Because it was 2, Brotherhood, and then the third one where Ezio was older. Anyway, we come off the back of those games and then went to Assassin's Creed 3, where the most glaring thing about it was that the climb mechanic was hands down worse than it had been in the previous games. So much so that it featured a lot of me jumping off the top of buildings, trees and other objects and falling to my death. It was super infuriating. But this is a remaster. It looks better. It plays better. Yeah, actually, no, it doesn't. It looks like they've smoothed out the rough edges. That doesn't make it look better. It makes it look noticeable. And as far as the gameplay mechanics, they seem to have kept them all. Which is super baffling to me, because ultimately all you've done is tart it up a little bit. Now, not gonna lie, I'm really glad that I didn't pay anywhere near the money they've been asking for it for many, many months at this point in time. I paid like £11, and that was on a voucher. So technically, I don't think I actually paid for it. Again, I think it falls into that category of I was kind of disappointed, where I was like, this was the best you could do with this game. You couldn't have, tighten it up's one thing, but you couldn't have made it play a touch better. Because it never played well. It was so frustrating. So infuriating. The biggest problem I've got at this point in time is I've got so many things to play. First world problems, I know. And so little time that I have to be very selective about the things that I do play. Like, I need it to really hit a lot of those sort of receptors to make it worth my time. I have got games, like, I know they're digital, but if they were physical, the pile would be many times taller than this house. It's insane. It's a crazy, crazy time. It's a fortunate time because obviously we had just such a horrible drought of things. I discovered Steam, which was a terrible idea for everybody involved. VR's managed to kick way the fuck off this year. Obviously, again, Steam with the Steam VR edition is just off the charts. It's absolutely off the charts. I've recently signed up to Game Pass, which has given me access to a variety of games, Black Ops, Atlas Fallen, although I had that on Steam. I've downloaded and installed the Indiana Jones game, have not been anywhere near it. So it's things like this. If I start playing a game and I go, this isn't really working for me, there's a much higher chance these days that I just won't go back to it, because I physically don't have the time for a game that's not of a particular standard or of a particular enjoyment level. I think that's what I'm sort of getting at. So I can tell you, if I go back to Assassin's Creed 3, I'll let you know, but let's be real here. Yeah. That is the podcast for this week. That is the trimmed down version, December version, I guess. So yes, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next time. So there you go, what do you think of that? Short and sweet, over an hour long. What can I say? It runs away with itself. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button. That way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thanks for listening. If you like this episode of CookieCast, please like, share and subscribe.